Hi YouTube, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can find me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. So, you know, they're all exciting videos. I start every one of them out saying, hey, I got an exciting video for you. And, well, you know, I've told you about that. Anyway, so, about a year ago maybe or so, I did a video on how to, a quick and dirty way to flatten out and maintain your oil stones. A lot of you guys know that I really like the Norton crystalline coarse fine for shaping edges, and then I go straight to a DMT 325 as a finisher for almost everything. Pocket knives, kitchen knives, choppers, I mean pretty much anything except for like straight razors, and those I take to kind of the standard 12,000 grit nanowall waterstone. Oil stones and me have been, you know, I think we've had kind of a love-hate relationship over the last, well, I think I started sharpening knives when I was like 5 or 6 years old, something like that. And, you know, I mean, it was up until, you know, a decade ago or so when I really started making knives and really getting into all this stuff. You know, you just pick up a stone and start rubbing your knife on it, and, you know, and until it got sharp. And you could get sharp edges off oil stones. But a lot of times you'd pick up oil stones and, you know, they'd look like this. You know, really glazed over, dished out. Not only glazed, well, the glazing is, you know, steel particles, old oil, shop dust, you know, just all kind of nasty stuff on there. And the things never really did cut right, for me anyways, unless they were almost fresh out of the box. Well, this was a vintage one that I picked up just for this video. This one right here is, this has actually been in my shop now for about 2 years or so. It's a pretty fresh Norton combination coarse fine crystalline. They call it the JB8. I can pick these up here in town at the local feed store for, I want to say about $30, something like that. Of course, on the internet they're cheaper, you know, maybe 20 bucks or so on Amazon with the Prime thing. But in that and then one of my favorite, or I don't know, favorite, I do like the edges off of a Norton fine India stone. But it's kind of the same deal, you know, you use it for a little while and then it starts to glaze over, and it just doesn't seem to cut very well. Well, you know, I've been getting into straight razors for about the last year and a half or so now, and boy, it's been a wild ride, you know, learning about water stones, a little bit more about the diamond hones, some of your high-end oil stones like your translucent and your blacks from, you know, the Arkansas stones. And the other day I got to thinking about it and I thought, well, you know, we get these water stones and we pay an outrageous amount of money for them, and the first thing you do when you get them is you rub your flattening block on it, whether it's the Norton flattening block or lapping plate, whatever you want to call it, or an old worn out DMT 325. And I got to thinking to myself, I thought, well, you know, with a water stone, you know, they get dished. They don't really plug up so much, but they get dished and they get out of flat, and then so you lap them. Well, that last video I did where I showed, you know, taking one of these and just taking the corner of an old file, coarse preferably, and pretty much just scraping the top layer of that stone off to get rid of the glazed, you know, abrasive, kind of level it out a little bit and everything. And that video was a really good one. And it is a really quick and dirty way to kind of condition your oil stones. But in that video, in the comments, a lot of guys were talking about getting a piece of plate glass and some silicon carbide and flattening out the stones with that. Well, I finally got around to doing that just, I think, last week or so. I ordered up, I think I went a little bit overboard here, but it's from the Rock Shed. Hopefully you'll see that. It was on Amazon. I think I still had to pay shipping. This wasn't one of the Amazon Prime deals. And I put all of the bags in, you know, extra gallon Ziploc bags. But I got 5 pounds each of 36 grit, graded 220, and then I think the middle grit was a 60/90. Honestly, I think this is going to last me, you know, my kids will probably end up with this stuff. I don't think I'm going to end up using all of this. But 5 pounds was like $2 cheaper than 3 pounds. So, you know, not knowing how much of this I was going to use, I went with the 5-pounders. But anyway, like I said, it's from the Rock Shed in Keystone, South Dakota. So look them up on Amazon or on the internet, or you know, you'll find them. And if not, there's some other outfits that sell it also. So I got this stuff in, and I threw it in old pellet tins, you know, because that's about the, you know, the right size. And I didn't really want to knock that big 5-pound bag of silicon carbide over. Get you up here so you can kind of see it. It's just really nice, fine, kind of like sandblasting grit. You know, pretty much looks like sand. Anyway, so I got it, and I was going to just play with it a little bit and just flatten a couple of my stones out. And honestly, that first time it went so fast, I was astounded. I mean, I've taken, you know, stones like this that were glazed over and dished out and thrown them on a fresh 36 grit blazed ceramic belt, and all it did was just dull the belt. I mean, these stones laugh at stuff like that. I've spent hours, you know, rubbing them on a cinder block, and really all the cinder block did was just glaze it even farther. I mean, it was just, you know, I just finally got to using the file thing, and that kind of worked okay. This works incredibly well. I set a timer just to kind of see how long it would take. Put the 36 grit on the float or plate glass, and I resurfaced, leveled, and trued up 4 of my stones, front and back. So I'll grab you right here. And it took like an hour. I mean, it was amazingly fast. So we got here a pretty new Norton crystalline coarse fine, an old crystalline old crystalline coarse fine by Norton. You can see the old box there. My Norton Fine India. This one's a ginormous stone, by the way. That's like 11.5 inches by 2.5 by probably an inch thick when it was new. Picked this one up at the yard at a yard sale. There we go. Long time ago for $3. But look how flat that is now. I mean, it might not be exactly perfect, but you know, this is a shaping stone, so it doesn't really have to be. So I flattened and resurfaced all, well, these 3, plus there was another one that I keep in the house. Flattened it out and resurfaced it. And then I realized, I was like, well, heck, I just recut all my stones. I don't have any stones to recut to be able to show you guys. So I got on eBay, and there was a guy, well, could have been a gal too, I guess. I ended up winning this auction right here. Some really nice stones in this. I've got a Boss Barber barber hone. These little things you just keep in your bathroom to be able to touch up your razor when you need to. Now both sides look like this, all chewed up and nasty when I got it. The back side was the cleanest, so I went ahead and lapped it, got it really nice and flat, beveled the edges, and then went ahead and took it all the way down to I think 2,000 or 2,500 grit with silicon carbide sandpaper. And it's looking really good now. I'm gonna have to do some tests on this. This one right here, now if anybody knows what this one is, let me know. Okay, because this seems to be a fine India. but the color's wrong, and the grain isn't, it's similar, but it's not exact to my somewhat current production fine India. I picked this one up brand new, probably 8 years ago, something like that, and of course I threw the box away. This one right here, it was dished out really bad. You can see this part right here, I didn't even bother taking it out. And what I'll do is I'll use the corners of this stone kind of as a roughing stone, and kind of bring the kind of bring it down level in stages. This side right here, I went ahead and leveled it out with a 36 grit, and this took ages to get flat. Now granted, I took like an 1/8 inch off of the thickness of the stone, because it looked like somebody had been sharpening gouges on it. That's what the box looks like that it came in. There's no numbers or anything like that on it. I haven't put the top underneath the microscope to see if there's anything written in there, but I don't know if this is the original box or not. And it says India oil stone in there, but it doesn't say if it's a fine or if maybe they ever made an extra fine or something like that. We've got a Norton aluminum oxide sharpening stone. It just says combination AIB8 type 2 class A. It's a coarse fine and a really nice stone. Now that this one actually wasn't in too bad a shape, but this side cut way faster than what this did. And then we're going to go ahead and flatten one of these. This one appears to be, some sort of a coarse fine. Might be crystalline. I mean, I've soaked these in Dawn and hot water for the last couple of days just to kind of get cleaning them up. This one right here kind of looks like, a dollar store type stone. This one looks like another Norton crystalline coarse fine. And then this one right here, we'll probably go ahead and flatten it just because I really want to see what it is. It's cleaned up quite a bit, but it is a coarse fine, but I'm not sure what that top is. So anyway, we're going to level that out. The plate glass, I picked it up at the local glass shop where I get replacement glass for windows and stuff. It's about 1/4 inch thick. This part, or this side right here, I can kind of feel I'm starting to get a little bit of wear on it. But like I said, these stones right here, I typically just use them as roughing stones. So if they're not perfectly flat, that doesn't really bother me because I'm going to be dressing them again, when they start, there we go. I'm going to dress them again when they start getting worn. So we're going to take this 36 grit silicon carbide. We're going to take, about that much. Put it down on the plate glass. Spray it down with some just regular old tap water. And then you could, draw yourself a grid pattern with a pencil. But honestly, both sides of this stone are so, oil coated and grimy, even after a couple of days of soaking in Dawn and water, that we're going to be able to tell right quick, where we're cutting and where we need to cut more. Now, I'm going to warn you right now, go ahead and adjust the volume down. I'll just go ahead and make, I don't know, a minute or so worth of passes on this. And then, first, before we do that, okay, here's a dry spot. I wanted to show you how to check and see if they're out of level. Okay, so this side's the side I'm most interested in, so we're going to put it down on the glass. Then we're going to take a stickum note. These yellow stickum notes generally run about 5/1000ths of an inch thick, the paper is. And then put it on something flat, and then I like to put a little bit of pressure kind of in the middle so that it doesn't rock. And then see where that paper, see where it can go in. And this one, I kind of remember on the corners, on this side right here, You can see it slipping in there, kind of in the middle, and then this corner right here. So what that tells me is that this side right here, now it is the cleaner side, so more than likely when somebody used this stone, they always hand held it, and they always sharpened off the end, and then sharpened off the end. So here's a junk knife. Okay, so they sharpened and took it all the way off the end because that corner is worn off, and then here they went all the way off the end there also. If they didn't do that, then the corners would still be high. All right, so let's get you back to where I can see. Okay, like I said, this is going to be loud, so turn your volume down a little bit, and we'll just do a minute worth of passes. Not that timer, we'll go this timer. Start, stop, start. Wow, that's always loud. So that was a minute worth of passes here. We'll get the majority of that off, and then I'll go rinse it off in the sink. Be right back. And what we've got is not really all that impressive on this one. It looks like it's cutting fairly evenly, just by the amount of grime that's up in here. And I still can't tell what kind of stone it is. But this isn't cutting this one all that fast. These, the Norton crystalline coarse fines, they cut extremely fast. That newer Norton Fine India, it cut extremely fast. I did start working, well, like I said, the other that I think is a Norton Fine India, it cut very, very slowly. And then I actually started leveling out a hard arc that I'll show you in another video, and that thing took forever. I mean, I worked on it for like 2 or 3 hours or so. Never did get it completely flat, but I got it really close. Let's give it a little, about another minute and see, but all the pencil marks are gone. So let's give it another minute and see what we get. There, we're right at a minute. Now we can start seeing the surface of the stone is really brightening up. And you can also hear that sound change when I'm rubbing the stone on the grit. I'm not pressing down hardly at all. I mean, that's a pretty heavy stone. In fact, this one is quite a bit heavier than this Norton, well, what looks to be a coarse fine, the crystalline. So like I said, that was why I wanted to start off with this one and just kind of see what it's made out of. This does look like it's some sort of a, it might be, it's got kind of the same coloration as that one. Let me make sure you're back in there. The brighter spots looks like the same color as this, so it could be another stone like that one. And if this one flattens out like that one did, this is going to take me probably, I don't know, 15 minutes worth of lapping to get this side completely cleaned up. But anyway, you can also tell by the sound that that's been made here. If you go back and you listen when I first started and then just now when I just ended, you'll hear that this abrasive is starting to get broken down, and then it needs some more. Yeah, I'm not going to make you guys watch me level this whole thing out, so I'll go ahead and call it quits for this particular video. No, I won't. Okay, so what I'll do with this one right here, like I said, this is, you can tell it's a coarse fine. So on the coarse side, I'm going to go 36 grit until it gets either all the way flat or very close to being all the way flat. Because remember, this is going to be a working stone. So if you take it all the way to perfectly flat every single time, you'll just end up wearing it down sooner than what you need to. So I'll probably just get the high spots off of it, get it, or this time, get it almost completely flat so that I get rid of all this junk that's on the top of the stone and dress it. Then the next time I need to flatten it, then I won't have to take it all the way back down. You know, I mean, if there's one or two little low spots in there, you know, you just kind of work around those when you're doing your shaping. This side right here, I'll get completely flat on the 36 grit, and then I'll go to the 60-90, and I'll go ahead and mark the grid out with the pencil, and then rub until that grid mark is gone on the 60-90. Then I'll go back and rub more on the worn 60-90 grit, okay, because once as it breaks down, it keeps getting finer and finer and finer. Once I've got it cleaned up on the worn 60-90 grit, then I've got some, well, that's the 60-90, well, they all look the same, they're all in pellet tins. And then I'll go to the 220, and that'll be enough for this particular stone. If I was setting a natural Arkansas stone up for like use as a razor finisher, then I'd go ahead and once I get past this 220, switch to silicon carbide sandpaper just to condition the surface of the stone. So I'd go 320, 4, 5, or 600, 800 or 1000, and then 1500, 2000, 2500, pretty much whatever I have in the shop. But anyway, so this is really exciting to me because, you know, diamond hones, you guys know that I go through like 2, sometimes 3 of those DMT 325 stones a year, or hones a year. I really like them. I really like that really toothy, extremely aggressive edge that they give. And for me, it's fine enough. It's aggressive, but it's fine enough for like detail work. So if I get a splinter and I need to, you know, to cut that splinter out, it's fine enough for work like that, opening mail, you know, pretty much everything, while still maintaining a really high degree of aggressiveness and a long-lasting edge. Well, I get the same thing out of one of these when it's new. This isn't quite as toothy as that 325, but it's really close. I mean, I could live, you know, perfectly happy with edges just off of this stone for, you know, for almost all of my work with a knife. But the problem is that the stone always glazes up, it gets out of flat, and then it just doesn't cut the way it's supposed to. It just keeps getting finer and finer. And I can see where some guys would like that, but I don't. So the ability of this, where I can use this stone right here, and then once it quits cutting the steel the way I want it to, just break out the plate glass, throw a little bit of 60-90 on there, you know, recut it with that. Because I probably won't need the 36 grit for normal maintenance. That's more for reconditioning stones. or bringing old stones back to life. But hit it with some 60-90 grit for, 5 minutes. Throw the 220 grit on there, smooth out the 60-90 marks for 5 minutes, and bam, my stone's new again. And it's two-sided, so once a month I could pull this out, redress this stone, and be good to go for the next month. Or now that I've got several of what look to be fine Indias, dress them all 1 month and be good to go for the next 2 or 3 months, So that is really exciting to me. Also, playing with the different grits that you dress the stone at ought to make the stone cut differently. So, like I said, when this stone is brand new, I like the edge, but it's a little bit too smooth for my taste. Well, what would happen, and I'll have to test this, what are the edges like off of this with a 220 grit finish? They might be just a little bit more toothy than the standard finish. Or what happens if I drop to a 60-90 grit finish and then, use the fresh 60-90 to kind of recut the surface, and then instead of going to the 220, just spend a little bit more time on the worn 60-90, might end up with a 120 grit finish on here that might leave just that little bit of extra tooth that I like. It's going to be an awful lot of fun playing around with it. Oh, and the crystalline, these are supposed to be, I think, a 320 or a 360 grit fresh from the factory. That might, with a different dressed top, or even a clean one, that might give me the edge that duplicates that DMT, only with a stone that instead of when the diamonds wear out, I pretty much stick them and use them as a lapping plate for water stones. Well, this, I can recut it and reuse it. That's an inch thick stone. Now, granted, you're only going to use it down to, a 1/4 of an inch before the stone breaks, or you glue it to a piece of wood or something. But that stone might last me 5 or 6 years, constantly dressing it, to keep that that nice aggressive finish on top of the stone that I like. Anyways, if any of you fellas know what the heck that stone is, if it is just an old Norton Fine India that's, the age has changed the color, or if they made them differently back then, maybe they dyed the the binder different back then, I don't know. But if you know anything about that one, let me know. If you've done this test before, changing the grit of the stone by the different finishing grit that you used on it, let me know how that worked out, or if you just want to chat sharpening, leave comments. Anyway, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can find me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. I'm going to get to lapping these stones because I cannot wait to see how that one especially turns out. And these other two, I believe they're going to be Norton coarse or crystalline coarse fines, which is excellent because I love those stones. One of these will probably go in the truck, one of them in the car, because you always, like when you go out of town to visit relatives that live, like, I don't know, in Tennessee or something, and you help them cook dinner and you pull out their knives, and the knives are, you've seen butter knives sharper than that. It'd be really handy to have an extra stone in the car, just to go out there, get it back sharp, and then, get on with your work. Anyway, hope you guys have a good one, and we'll catch you on the next one.